Colleagues at the head table, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Freedom House. We're happy to see all of you here today. And let me start off by thanking the WPO for organizing this activity so that we can all celebrate International Women's Day. And on behalf of our party, I want to congratulate all of you here on this very special day. So often on these special occasions, people tend to follow an orthodox route and say wonderful things about the day and about the participants. And therefore, what I may say today might be a bit unorthodox, because I do believe that we have to use these occasions not to have a perfunctory celebration where we come and tap each other on the back and wish each other well, and then go back into our corners, wherever we are, and allow a next year to pass until we celebrate again. That often these occasions have to be used to answer the tough questions that face our people, and on this occasion, particularly women. And many of us have different perspectives about what the issues, the fundamental issues are facing women, and particularly the women of this country. We approach these issues from different perspectives, often based on geography or our social upbringing, because the challenges we face are different. And so just yesterday, we were having a discussion on our manifesto for the upcoming elections and about what are the things we have to focus on there that we believe are the primary concerns of women. And so if you look at the flyer that our we're using in our House campaign, you would see a significant focus there on getting women involved in more activities at the level of the state, playing a greater role in decision making and decision implementation, and then a particular focus on women in business and creating a supporting environment and the tools for women to advance in business. But then that may seem a too narrow a focus. And we argue that women are much more complex beings, and they face much more complex issues outside of issues of just business, because they live in societies and the societal problems are their problems too. And so often we have this predilection to, when we talk about young people, we think that young people, you can satisfy their concerns with simply giving them a couple of football or talk about sports or culture. But people are much more complex. And so what are the issues that we have to overcome in Guyana and in our analysis of this matter? It is dealing with orthodoxies. And so, for example, our Minister of Finance, we believe, and this government, manages for ratios. They talk about the size of the fiscal deficit, how much taxes they collect in relation to GDP, what is the ratio, what is the growth rate, or inflation rate is low. And they lose sight that the purpose of a government's economic policy is to change people's lives for better. That the people are lost in all of this managing for ratios. And similarly, too, I've seen in some circles of advocacy for women's rights, they argue for ratios too. Now, it's important that we get the ratio up of women's involvement in, say, political life. So we've gotten it to 30% now, and that's great. Say, women's involvement in the National Assembly or the cabinet. And now we hear about 50%. But we do have, assuming we get women 50% in government and in the cabinet, and we have a large number of women in the current government, but this government practices policies that have worked consistently to erode the well-being of Guyana, and particularly women. So it's not just getting women in leadership position. It's ensuring that the framework within which they work is a progressive framework, because you can have greater women's involvement, but if they don't stand up for a whole range of issues when they are involved, then you're back to square one. Women's rights don't move forward. So when you quoted Margaret Thatcher, you might be right in relation to Granger. Nothing will get done with him. But I don't think you'll fare better with Amnali too. And I'm sorry that I have to say that today on International Women's Day, because we love the women in APNU too, and I want to wish them happy International Women's Day. But I'm just using it to illustrate a point, that you have to have a progressive framework for the advancement of women's rights and women's causes and women's well-being in any country. And we in the People's Progressive Party, from the very beginning, we established a party on the basis of equalities. That when Chedi Jagan established this party, this was a party that treated women and men equally. A party that believes in that all races in Guyana have an equal place within our ranks, that people of every religion must be treated equally because they are citizens of Guyana. And so that has helped to influence us over the years in opposition and when we took the reins of power. And you will see in every period that the PPP has been in office, even in the period before independence, that women's rights, but generally the rights of Guyanese, have advanced. And so too, in the 23 years that we managed, we passed a slew of legislation that advanced the well-being and the rights of women, not just in terms of violence, the acts against domestic violence and sexual violence against women, but we had a constitutional body, which is, we enshrined that, the Gender Equality Commission. In our constitution now, when we change it, we enshrine that right with constitutional protections. And we took policies that would have advanced the rights of women, from we're getting women more involved in education, in business, to a register of single parents across the country, recognizing that single parents, the burden of the bringing up the family falls disproportionately on the backs of women who had those households, and then on the other issues too. So what I'm saying is that you will have an agenda that focuses heavily on women's rights and equality. But we believe that creating, as was promised already, 50,000 jobs in the new government, that will help women too, because many women, as Irfan pointed out, that they're unemployed, they have lost their jobs, we have to get them to work, we have to add more women to our workforce, we have to prepare them for that workforce in the future. They can have more income. When they have more income, they become more independent. Therefore, this is vital for us. The agenda. Job creation is not a gender-neutral thing. It's not gender-specific or only a male issue. It's gender neutral in the sense that women will also benefit from it. When we talk about creating 40,000 new house lots, doing that in the future, many of the beneficiaries will be women too, because owning a home and owning wealth advances the well-being of the family and helps to provide shelter for the family and can help to reverse some of the negative things. In the same flyer, which is already promised, and many of you activists are taking around the country, we've said we will reverse the value-added tax on water and electricity. Now, when you go to Berbice and other places, you see people come to meetings with the electricity and water bill. So it's not just about water. The price of it has gone up. It's making it affordable for the families too. And once the cost of living goes up, it's the women who carry this burden often. So doing that, when we said we'll remove the value-added tax on medicine, so when you fall sick, we know who, when the children fall sick, who carry the burden of it and who have to go and buy the medicine and who are there worrying the most. It's a woman in the family. And so it's not just about some abstract rights that we are fighting towards. Definitely moving the place of women in society forward. It's not just abstract rights. It is a set of a framework where we will move the country forward and in that process address many of the pressing concerns of women wherever they live. And as I said before, some of these concerns are geographic specific. So that is a vital, vital issue for us in the People's Progressive Party and moving forward. And I would like us to move away often from this approach. Like someone said to us, we need to do more on the education sector. We are discussing this, and I asked her yesterday, do we have an obstacle? Pauline looking at me, she was part of that meeting. Do we have an obstacle to girls enrolling in every level of our school? And the answer is basically no. Now, unlike some countries where children, you go to some parts of the world and girls can't go to school, they can't even be enrolled. Do we have an obstacle there to enrollment? If there is an obstacle, we have to work at it. But we have not found a major set of obstacles. Two, when we go to university now, so people go through the school system. When we look at the output from the university, 2/3 of the graduate are women. So there is no obstacle for upward movement of women in our society, at least educationally. They're outperforming boys in school, in the education system. But where the obstacle comes in, it might be finding jobs and getting the appropriate pay. Do they get equal pay with men? And are they discriminated in certain positions where, in terms of upward mobility? We have to analyze these things in a specific, not an abstract, general way, and then fix them. And so too in the People's Progressive Party, Indra pointed out that although women are the bulwark of this party, they're the most active people in our party at public meetings, on the ground, etc. But why isn't it that we have more party members who are women? Now we've been encouraging more women to come into the party, not just the WPO, and I hope that all of you will join the WPO and make this the biggest women, or it's already probably the biggest women organization in this country, but 5,000 strong. That's my dream. And it becomes a powerful political force too. But also more women should join the party. We have deficiencies in our party, not because there is an obstacle to joining, but because somehow historically this has happened, and we need to fix it. And we need to fix also more Afro-Guyanese we need in our party. We are strong, we have an open party. Our party is the only national party, and we have to do that. These are deficiencies that we have had, not because we want them or we are exclusionary, but because historically people have all these stereotypes. And so women now have to step up and join the party. And that's how you grow eventually up into the leadership. Up into the leadership. So there are specific ways that we move forward. And these occasions that we have, these rare occasions where we talk about women's issue, we must not squander them by just, wishing each other, well, that's great. But let us, in a very specific way, move the agenda forward so that we'll be proud of the role we already are, that women have played in the struggle for freedom in this country and for changing it. And that they will continue to play role equal to men in our society. In fact, many of them are playing a role greater than many men in our society. And so I just wanted to leave with one more thing, that all of you today have a duty, as someone said, to ensure that the rights agenda of Guyana, not just women's rights, but the rights agenda, the kind of country we live in, that it doesn't change. In the past, in the colonial period, people who looked like us, Guyanese people, we were second-class citizens in this country. People who looked like us. People who came from abroad, they held all the positions. If you had a clear color, you could only work in some areas, the banks and some places. And we fought over many years to change that so that our people had the dignity and the right and basically the freedom to own this country in a real sense and to be proud of their own country. And we must never allow our rights, the freedom that we enjoy today, not that the threat is coming from abroad, the threat may be coming from even within, that the freedoms that we enjoy, the constitutional freedom, the rule of law, respect for our law and the Constitution, that those don't get eroded. Because a government that can't comply with the primary law of the country, the supreme law of the country, will never respect any of your rights when the machinery of the state is used against you. Will never respect that. Not commercial relations, not political relations, not civil rights. They will never respect that if they can't respect the fundamental law of the country, which is the Constitution. And that is the kind of government we have now. And we will never allow them to succeed, because boys and girls, you will have to depart this country like a generation before us had to do, to seek their fortunes and to give realization to their dreams elsewhere in another part of the world. And we don't want that for our Guyana. So right now, it's all of us have to stand up to this. And March 21st will come, and we must be out there to make sure that we defend ourselves and the future of this country for all of Guyana. Even if it means taking to the streets of this country because we'd have an illegal government. So I'm sorry I took you into all of that, but I believe that these occasions cannot be squandered. They cannot be squandered. And this party, the People's Progressive Party, will forever be in the forefront of struggle for the rights of all of our people, even those who don't support us because they're Guyanese. And more so, the rights of women will always have a special place in our hearts in this party. Thank you very much.